Parrot health emergencies are very scary, and it is a natural reaction for us to be very anxious and panicky and not knowing what to do in that moment because we're kind of bamboozled by the whole experience of it being terrifying. What we can do is trying to prepare for some of these emergencies by having certain supplies in the home and just getting ourselves together to make sure that if something does happen, which I absolutely hope that it does not, then at least we can be as best prepared as we can for different situations and get our birds the help that they need. And in today's video, I'm going to show you some products that you can have in your home for emergency and first aid instances, and they've been very kindly sent to me by my friends at Northern Parrots, so massive thank you to Northern Parrots for sending these over. They do have a very wide variety of things that you can offer your birds in an emergency or for first aid, and of course lots of other lovely goodies on there for your birds. Don't forget you can get 10% off your first order if you sign up to their newsletter, but do make sure you check out their wide range of first aid supplies on there, because it is good to have lots of different things in your home, because in my mind I always say it's better to have it or not need it than to need it and not have it. So here are some of my top tips for preparing for emergencies with your pet bird. Before I show you some of these products designed for first aid and emergencies, I want to give you my #1 top tip for preparing for emergencies with your bird. And I've said this in so many videos, so I'm going to tell you again. Today is the day that you are going to make sure you know where your nearest avian vet is. Even if that's 2 hours away, you need to know where they are. You need to register your flock with them and have their phone numbers saved in your phones. Don't wait for something to happen and think, ah, where's my vet? I don't know where they are. I'm actually registered with my flock with 3 different vets, just to kind of cover all bases, and make sure you have a plan of action to get to your vets. I know it can be really difficult. We don't drive, it's difficult for us. Sometimes we get help from lifts from other people. Sometimes I use Uber Pet. Sometimes I've had to run or walk to the vets that are not close, because it is important, it is a legal requirement to get your bird veterinary care when they need it. If you need help finding an avian vet for your bird, no matter where you are in the world, please drop me an email, a DM, whatever, and I will help you find your nearest vet. Even if they're not super local, I will help you find a vet, because it is essential to have your bird registered at a vet before you need them. It takes loads of stress out of an incredibly stressful situation already. So that is my big takeaway from this video that hasn't barely started yet. Please get your birds registered with an avian vet. And on that note as well, make sure you have a travel carrier. Don't rely on taking a cardboard box, because your bird is going to chew their way out of that even if they aren't feeling very good. Make sure you have a travel carrier. Bonus points if your bird is carrier trained, but of course sometimes in an emergency they may not want to go in there because we're panicking. They can pick up on our energy, but if you at least have a stable and secure safe travel carrier for your bird, you can get them to the avian vet safely. Similarly, while these may not 100% help in emergency situations, it's good to have them, and that's to train husbandry behaviours with your bird. That could be things like syringe training them to take liquids from a syringe voluntarily, and I've got a video on that, so make sure you watch that later on. It could be towel restraint as well, being comfortable being enclosed in a towel safely, of course, because we never want to constrict their chest in any way. So again, if you don't know how to do that, look up some of these things, do a little bit of background research and homework on how to prepare for these certain scenarios. There's loads of really useful videos from avian vets on YouTube that I have watched myself. Learning how to restrain your bird properly, doing voluntary towel restraint, syringe training, all these kinds of things. And again, it's better to have it and not need it than the other way around. Let's talk about something that's pretty essential when it comes to keeping any animal, but especially with pet birds, and that's having a first aid kit. Now, I do have a couple of videos on my channel about how to kind of put your own one together, and if you want to do that, that's great. But Northern Parrots do actually have a first aid kit here, which is a really good base to work on. I think this kit is really cool. I'll kind of pan over and show you some of the goodies in there. But you've got things like bandages, adhesive tape, gauze, an iron skin wash, you've got styptic powder, cotton swabs, different wipes. You've got scissors, forceps, you've also got these locking forceps specifically, which again, I hope none of you ever have to be in the emergency situation where you need to pull a blood feather, but if you do, you would use the locking forceps in here. There's lots of different kinds of things in here, but the other thing that I think is cool in here is there is this little note card which has loads of first aid information specifically about birds, and I think that's a really nice addition. This can be something that you can quickly glance at. If something's happening, what do I do in this scenario, as well as calling your vet, of course, because none of the products in this video is a substitute for veterinary care. It's all about just getting a bird ready to go there, or if there's obviously something minor that you can kind of sort out before speaking to your avian vet. But this is a really nice addition. I really like this first aid kit. I think it's really cool, and again, I hope you never need to use anything in here, but if you do, again, you've got a nice little secure area area where you can top up the supplies, and then you've got a little box, you know where to find all of your goodies. It's got a nice little label on the front there. So if you are looking for a first aid kit and you don't want to make one yourself, I think this is a really good place to start. Again, I'm going to stress this throughout this video. I hope that none of you ever have to be in the experience to have to use any of this stuff, but one of the things that a lot of bird owners don't have, but I think you probably should have in my opinion, is a bird net. And you might think, well, my bird's tame, it steps up, it's bonded to me, it's great. That's great when things are okay, but when there is an emergency, you never know when you might need to use a net. And I know some people who have very unfortunately been involved in natural disasters and things, they've used like pillowcases to catch up their birds. A net is a bit more secure, and say for example something happens when your bird is out and about and they're just flying around frantically, it is a bit easier to catch them up safely in a net. Again, netting is not fun, it will break some of your trust, but in an emergency situation where you need to get a hold of your bird so that you can sort them out, so you can get them into a carrier and get them to the vets in a situation where they won't step up and they are in a bad way, then a net is a really good thing to have. And also, as I mentioned, if there is a situation like a natural disaster, this is also something where you need to get out of the house immediately, or you need to get out of the house really quickly and your birds are panicking, you're panicking. This could be one of the things that helps you all get out safely. Now, if you are buying a bird net, I highly recommend getting one with a padded rim rather than just like a pond dipping net, or you know, that kind of thing. Because again, if you are netting a bird, if you've never netted a bird, I have in various scenarios, not my own flock, but birds when I've been at work. It's not fun, but if you have a padded net, it is a lot kinder on them. It's not going to hurt them compared to one that's just like a wire ring. And then having the kind of black net here means that they are less scared because they can't see everything that's going on out them. But of course, you want to get them in the net and then get them out safely into a carrier or whatever it is that you need to do if you need to catch them up. So a net is one of those things that you don't really think about until you actually need it. So I highly recommend having these, and you can just store it in the cupboard, store it with your travel carrier, and then if you do end up needing it, you know where it is and you know that you have a safe way to catch up your bird if they are panicking. Next up we have Tamidine. Again, I've used this on a variety of different animals before. Tamidine is like an iodine kind of solution, and this is for cleaning kind of cuts and wounds and things like that. Now again, like I kind of said already, if you don't know how to use any of these products, you're not sure, you don't know which product to use and what, please phone your avian vet anyway. Don't just be making lotions and potions and concoctions and just chucking it on your bird and that kind of thing, because you know, some things shouldn't go into like an internal wound, some things are only for superficial wounds. If you don't know what you're doing, talk to your avian vet anyway. Next up we have a product that I always have in the cupboard, and unfortunately I have had to use a couple of times for a variety of reasons, and that's the F10 germicidal barrier ointment. This protects your bird and creates a barrier with a kind of wound that protects your bird from viruses, fungus, bacteria, spores, all that kind of stuff. It is an exceptional product. Now this can be used on things like burns, open wounds, contaminated wounds, superficial skin cuts and stuff. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, please talk to your vet. None of this in this video is veterinary advice or a substitute for veterinary advice. We've had to use this on kind of superficial wounds and things, on Louis' foot, that kind of thing. So this is a very, very handy thing to have in the cupboard. It's very safe, and when you have cleaned the wound, you apply this to it and it does create that barrier. It's almost like a pretend plaster, but it's just a cream, and it just stops any dirt and bacteria and any other microbes from getting into that open wound so that it can heal nicely. So this is something that I think every bird owner, kind of like all the stuff in this video, but every bird owner should have in their first aid kit. I've bought this a lot of times just because, again, products like this expire, so make sure you are checking the expiry date for all your products. Again, I hope that they expire before you need to use them and you have to repurchase them. But yeah, I highly recommend this in your first aid kit, and as you guys know, we love the whole F10 range anyway. Once again, I hope you never need to use this, but this is a product that is recommended for birds with bumblefoot, whether that's bumblefoot that's only just started or more severe bumblefoot. This is usually part of a treatment range, and again, a lot of these things you kind of know what to use when it comes with experience. You know, I have been working with birds for over 15 years. I kind of know which products need to be used with what, but you should always read the instructions, the labels, what the products say they do. Some products are better than others, but yes, don't just, I can't stress this enough, don't just put on any old random rubbish that you've got in your house or any old random product onto an injury unless you know what you're doing or you have already spoken to your vet and you've had guidance from them. I cannot stress that enough. So have these things in the cupboard ready to go, and then if there is a situation, you have what you need to help your bird. Another product that I think I've mentioned in all of my first aid kit videos, any kind of vet videos that I talk about, it's just such a an amazing product, and that is Guardian Angel. This is a supplement. It has energy, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, immune support, everything in here. And you guys know that we don't typically recommend supplements like this. We normally go for everything all natural and stuff, but this is something that really can bring quite a lot of birds back from the brink. It is an exceptional product, and I'm not saying that just because it's helped so many birds. It doesn't help every bird, of course. It is not the be all and end all, and some birds, you know, things just happen, but this is a really excellent product. You can put this in water, but I typically put it on food if I need to. You can also use this if your bird is experiencing an increased period of stress. This can help to just support their body, because again, stress weakens the immune system. We want to keep them in tip-top condition. So highly recommend Guardian Angel to have in your cupboard as one of those kind of sick bird supplements, because it has helped an awful lot of birds, and I think that it is really good to have as a supplement when you need it. And the next product that I wanted to show you is a bit more of a serious one, and that is Poly-Aid, and this is emergency nutrition. It's like a critical care formula. So if your bird is so sick that they are not interested in food or they've stopped eating, this is something that you can have on hand to help them. Now, you can make this up and offer it on a spoon on top of other foods and stuff like that, but more often than not, when your bird is that sick, you may be in a position where you're going to have to start crop feeding, also known as gavage feeding. As you guys know, I did have to do that with Chip. It was not a pleasant experience. I hope I never ever have to do it again, and I hope that none of you ever have to do it as well. With crop feeding, if you do not know what you're doing, do not do it. Just take your bird to the vet and have them crop feed your bird, because if you get it wrong, it's really serious. But when you are crop feeding, you're typically feeding something like this, which is the Poly-Aid. You can get other ones like Emerade. That was the one that I used with Chip. You can also get Harrison's. They have a recovery formula. There's a variety of different critical care ones. The Poly-Aid one is very good as well, and this is emergency nutrition. It is just packed full of easily digestible nutrition, vitamins and minerals, energy boosts and things like that. So this would be typically crop fed, but you could, if your bird is interested in something, anything, you could feed it onto another product as well. I think many of us know that when a bird is sick, within reason, it's kind of, if they're not eating, it's better to just kind of give them almost anything just to make sure they're eating something. So if your bird is willing to eat mushy foods, hand feeding formula from a spoon, that kind of thing, fruit, that sort of thing, anything like that, if they want to eat veggies or birdie breads or anything like that, you can add this to it for that additional boost. But again, it's one of those things we always say, I really hope that you guys never ever have to do anything like this, and your bird is never ever sick enough to need something like this. But I would always much rather have these products on hand and just never need it, and just know that I just spent a bit of money having these products in the cupboard, than be in a situation where I'm panicking, trying to source everything, trying to make orders and waiting for them to arrive and stuff when a bird is sick. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other kind of top tips for preparing for emergencies with your pet bird. This is more geared to health stuff. Maybe I'll do like a natural disasters kind of one. We're very fortunate we've not experienced anything like that, so I can't necessarily give first-hand experience, but I can kind of collate ideas from people who have unfortunately been in that situation. But I would love to know if there's a product that you've used that you think is incredible, something you feel that should be in every first aid kit, just any other tips that you guys have for preparing for emergencies. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. But I'd like to say another massive thank you to Northern Parrots for supplying all of these goodies. As I said, do go and check them out with all the range that they have with the emergency support for your birds. I do have an affiliate link down in the description if you'd like to support our flock. You don't have to use it, of course, but I do recommend going to check out Northern Parrots with all of their lovely goodies. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.